Well, fight fans, last night we finally got to witness Keith Thurman versus Sebastian Fundora, and Fundora wins by stoppage. So, in this video I will be talking about the fight, giving you my opinion on it, and what I think is next for both of the fighters. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, honestly, from the moment that this fight was announced months ago, I thought only one thing, and that was that Sebastian Fundora would simply win this fight by unanimous decision, picking Thurman apart, because obviously that's what you expect when a taller guy is fighting a shorter guy. The taller guy's just gonna simply control the pace of the fight from the opening bell to the end of the final round and just be dominant from start to finish. And that's exactly what I thought would happen in this fight, because I in no way thought that Fundora could stop Keith Thurman, but it ended up happening. Not only did Sebastian Fundora stop Keith Thurman for the very first time in his career, but also he just laid a complete whooping on Thurman. A whooping that Thurman has never received in his career. Even when he lost to Manny Pacquiao back in 2019, that was still a pretty close fight, but this fight was just a one-sided whooping from the opening bell in round 1 until that ref jumped in the middle of round 6 to stop the fight. Sebastian Fundora was tuning up Keith Thurman from the start of the fight all the way till he was stopped. It was a vicious beatdown from Fundora. But Fundora is a good fighter, but no way in heck did I think that he would have the capabilities to stop Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman is a really good fighter. He's a Hall of Famer, no doubt. Thurman, in his one loss to Manny Pacquiao, that was a decision and it was close. It wasn't too much of a one-sided whooping. Thurman was knocked down once at the beginning of the fight, but then slowly started to gain a little bit momentum. Yes, Pacquiao cut that momentum off, but Thurman got some rounds on him. But in this fight, it was just such a one-sided whooping that I did not know Sebastian Fundora could put on Keith Thurman. You know, because Thurman throughout this entire build-up said, oh, I'm gonna chop down the tree. I'm gonna chop down the tree. Watch when I hit this man's chin. And yes, Thurman at one point did have a moment where he hit Fundora's chin, but that did nothing. Fundora ate the shot and kept walking forward. You know, it's very comparable to what Fundora had to deal with when he fought Tim Tszyu in the rematch. Yes, he was absolutely destroying Tim Tszyu in their rematch, but Tim Tszyu still had some moments where he was landing very good and big shots on Fundora, but Fundora was just able to fully walk through all of those shots. And he did the same exact thing with Keith Thurman, except he used his jab better, he used his length better, he used his reach advantage better, because we know Fundora to be a bit of a brawler, not too much of a smart guy when it comes to his height, because the taller guy could simply just control the shorter guy with the jab all night, but that's not what Fundora usually does. He tries to make it a dogfight, but when he does that, he kind of plays right into the shorter guy's plan. If Fundora made this a dogfight with Thurman, Thurman would have probably won the fight, no doubt about it. Thurman is a great fighter, he has knockout power, but he was just not able to show those skills and use his power because he wasn't able to hit Fundora too many times in the head. He did do some decent body work, but that still wasn't enough because Fundora really used his jab in the best way possible, in the way he should have. So definitely getting this win for Fundora is huge for his career because he has not fought many big names or challenged himself a lot. He's a great champion, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't really fought the best of the best. You know, he's fought Tim Tszyu twice and now he has Thurman on his resume. But if you really check the rest of his resume, it's not really anybody you'll really know too well. And if you do, that's great. You know more boxers than like 90% of the people who follow Fundora's career. But yeah, like I said, this is definitely a huge win and a huge step up for Fundora, getting a stoppage win over somebody like Keith Thurman, who has never been stopped and only has one loss on his record prior to this fight. But yeah, this fight just turned out a little bit how I expected, in the ways that, yeah, I expected Fundora to win, but I in no way, shape, or form thought that Fundora would go out there, absolutely dismantle Keith Thurman and stop him, because Keith has never been stopped, and I didn't think that Fundora had the ability to stop Keith Thurman. So with Sebastian Fundora having such a great victory over somebody like Keith Thurman, now the question is, what's next for Sebastian Fundora? Now, honestly, the 154-pound division is one of the hottest divisions in boxing right now, so that division is basically Fundora's oyster. He could fight anybody who he wants because he's the champ. He is one of the top guys. He could call the shots now. I've seen a lot of people like online talking about maybe him versus Charlo or him versus Virgil Ortiz. Those are good fights and good enough names for, I feel, Fundora to actually pay attention to and turn to, because it seems now that Fundora is looking for some big money fights, like fights against massive opponents that people know. People know Tim Tszyu, people know Keith Thurman, and with wins over them, now the world kind of knows who Sebastian Fundora is. So basically, Fundora can do whatever he wants. Those fights, all in their own right, make sense, but the one that makes most sense to me is probably the Virgil Ortiz fight. That one makes perfect sense, I feel. But who knows what can be next for Fundora, because at the end of the day, with this win under his belt, he could fight literally anybody next. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm excited. Fundora is a good fighter. He's an exciting fighter. He's a dog in this sport. He likes getting into firefights, and I'm really excited to see what's next for him after this dominating victory over Thurman. So now, having talked about what's next for Sebastian Fundora, now it's time to talk about what can be next for Keith Thurman. Now, a lot of people have been saying after this type of fight, after this type of whooping, he should retire, but I don't agree with that. I get why they're saying it, because Thurman was beaten pretty bad against Fundora, but I don't think he should retire right now. I think he should take a couple more fights and then retire. The fights I think he should take are against Tim Tszyu, really. That's the main one I want to see, but only if Tim Tszyu wins his fight next Saturday. If he loses, then he does have his fight with Errol Spence down the line in the summer, which in that case, Thurman can fight the winner or loser of that fight, and either one of those guys are good enough to be his next opponent. Errol Spence, that would be a great fight, but Tim Tszyu, that would be even a better fight for Keith Thurman, because they were originally scheduled to fight back in 2024, but Thurman had to pull out, and guess who replaced him? Sebastian Fundora was a late replacement for Keith Thurman, so I think that fight should still happen. I think they should go back down that road, but if that doesn't happen, I would be happy to see an Errol Spence fight with Keith Thurman, but that is just what I think. Keith Thurman is a tremendously good fighter. I like him a lot. He's an exciting character in the sport of boxing, and I don't think he's done in this sport. I think there's more to do, more people to beat. This was a bad loss for Keith Thurman, but honestly, who expected him to win this fight? Sebastian Fundora is really tall, and he's a really good fighter, and he used his advantages correctly in this fight. If this was a dogfight, if Sebastian Fundora tried to make this a dogfight with Keith Thurman, he probably would have lost. Keith Thurman is just that good. But no, he boxed. He used his jab. He kept Thurman away, and when he needed to, he got engaged with Thurman and traded blows, getting the better of the exchanges either way. But yeah, Thurman is still a great fighter, and I don't think he should retire. He should, like I said, fight either the winner or loser of Tim Tszyu versus Errol Spence. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down below what you think should be next for both Sebastian Fundora and Keith Thurman. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.